Today, we're going to be having a discussion with our friend Katie about Animal Crossing. Katie, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Katie Calloway, also known as Katie Cozyway here on YouTube, and I've been creating Animal Crossing content since 2020 when New Horizons was released, and yeah, it's been a very fun trajectory up until recently, I guess, but we'll dive into that.
When did you actually start Animal Crossing content? Because I didn't start until probably 2 or 3 months after the game's release.
So I want to say that I probably started creating Animal Crossing content probably a few months after you did. So I don't remember the exact date, let alone even the exact month, but I believe it was around September or October of 2020. I was highly a consumer of Animal Crossing content prior to creating my own.
Somebody asked me the other day, like, what were the creators that inspired your channel? And I think other Animal Crossing creators, because I was watching people do their island tours and I was like, I could do that. Like, come on, I could do that too. And
100%.
So I got started primarily with Animal Crossing tours.
Oh, that's so funny. It was a pigeonhole that I love and that I very much fell into, and that I'm still making to this day. And it's very nice and refreshing to see that people are still creating islands to tour that are actually full and complete and impressive, even years after the release and years after the final update too.
I'm so curious. I wish we could be able to know how many people are still actively playing the game in the same way as the initial first year, because it feels like there's still a pretty vibrant community, especially since, like, you're making those incredible island tours and people are loving it and people are decorating their islands still. I feel like a lot of people are tuning in and seeing what's going on and maybe even picking up the game more recently. Maybe there's people that are still picking up the game and playing it for the first time and they didn't have to go through this huge update cycle that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, 100%. I always feel like there is a surge in viewership right after the holidays because people may be experiencing the game for the very first time, or for whatever reason, they're feeling that holiday nostalgia, their burnout has subsided with Animal Crossing or whatever game, not just Animal Crossing. And people might just have the bandwidth and time to dive back into it. So that's kind of what I've noticed. But everyone with their favorite games, no matter what it is, it's going to come in waves. Even the best of games, people still get burnt out on. Animal Crossing, of course, with the lack of updates and everything now, has experienced so much more burnout in the fan base, I would argue. But it comes in waves. People are either fully invested in it, create a new island, start a new save file, whatever they may do, or they don't touch it for months. That's how it seems, at least in the community online and with people that submit their tours to me too.
Absolutely. And I've even going and prepping for this video was watching every single trailer for all of the updates that came out. And it made me think, I haven't picked up Animal Crossing in so long. I want to go back and I want to play it. And there's a huge portion of the player base, I feel like, that did not get into Animal Crossing as much as, say, someone like you or I did, where it was like everything was Animal Crossing. We lived it, we breathed it for a solid 2 years. And I think a lot of people were a lot more casual. And so when people say like, oh, Animal Crossing fell off, there was still a huge, crazy cool community several years in and even now, so I think a lot of people just didn't like get that into the decorating that we did.
Definitely not. I have several close friends who they wouldn't even consider themselves gamers to any extent, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the release date just aligning so serendipitously with that, they were so into Animal Crossing. Then, 2-3 months later, they fell off of it, probably just because they aren't gamers, if you will, or they found interest whenever it was convenient during lockdown, and then it fell off. But there were a lot of people, like you said, just like us, that were invested for literally years and years and years.
We'll go through all of the updates here, so we can kind of refresh people's memories a little bit, because we're going to be talking a lot about the individual updates today. And I needed a refresher personally because there was a lot of update rollouts. It continued for more than a year after Animal Crossing's release, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to discuss. So when the game first released on March 20th, 2020, COVID-19 pandemic, crazy wild times, everyone's stuck indoors. The game was released with an update that accompanied it, obviously. I got to go pick mine up the night before.
Oh, that's so exciting.
That was really exciting for me. But then the next day, there was an update that included Bunny Day. So the first holiday that we got to experience as a player base. And then there was some other random little items like the Pocket Camp little trailer items that you could get through the Nook Miles machine, things like that. But Bunny Day was the biggest thing. And what was interesting about Animal Crossing New Horizons was it didn't ship with all of the holidays inside of the game already. You could not go and time travel to experience all of these events and get in ahead of everybody. They just weren't in the game yet. So everybody was on the same page experiencing the same holiday at the same time. And I felt like personally that was really cool because it kept you engaged almost in the content.
Oh, 100%. I think that was such a brilliant element that they brought to New Horizons, and it made it so exciting for future updates, whether it be something seasonal like we will talk about with the summer updates, or like you said, the holidays. You couldn't time travel beyond just a couple of days in game if you're maybe villager hunting or whatnot. So you had to be patient and you had to re-engage with the franchise whenever there was an update like this first one or whenever Turkey Day one happens, which I thought was so brilliant of Nintendo to actually do in these small increments. And I think it also made for a much more tolerable experience being in lockdown for however long we all were. And we had something to look forward to, which I think with any game is always so nice, whether it be an update strategy like this one or even just DLC announcements that even are paid. But just giving people something to look forward to on a relatively regular basis is key in a game's success and survival.
I absolutely agree. I feel like, and we'll talk a little bit more about it too and go a little bit more in depth, but I totally agree. It's honestly the coolest thing that they could have done. Maybe I am a Nintendo meat rider loser, but I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Personally, that's just me.
Yeah, it was genius.
After the first update came out, there was a second update on April 23rd, so about a month after Animal Crossing New Horizons released, and that included Nature Day. I, honest to God, do not remember that.
I had to look it up. I did not know what it was either.
I didn't either. I did read that it was patched out later on, but I guess it was a Nook Miles redeemable thing, and it was extra Nook Miles that you could get from doing nature-y stuff, which... cool. I didn't know about that.
I mean, I guess in that early gameplay, it would have been beneficial to have that because that's what everyone was struggling to obtain. Bells, yes, but really it was those Nook Miles that are so important in early gameplay.
Totally. And then we got Mayday, which was the maze, right? And we got to meet Rover, which was exciting for people. When the game was released, a lot of people were like, oh man, we can't get on the bus with Rover and you know, create our character on the bus with Rover or the train or whatever the hell, planes, trains, automobiles. And we got to see Rover. So that was kind of the first like, okay, cool. So we're going to get like a lot of the missing characters through these seasonal updates, not just the Bunny Day thing. Like we've got more characters coming. And then International Museum Day. So that was where you could go inside the museum and, you know, do the cute little stamps, things like that. And then wedding season. We got wedding season pretty early on with Reese and Cyrus. And that was when you could go in and do their wedding and decorate all of that on Harv's Island through Photopia. Leaf, do you say Leaf or do you say Leif?
I say Leaf. I believe the correct pronunciation is Leif, right? But I say Leaf.
I get corrected on that all the time. I just say Leaf because I'm not fancy and I don't know anything.
To each their own.
And then we also got Red. So Red would come and, you know, on the ship and sell art and all of that. And then like the art section of the museum and everything, you could fill all that up. Something that I thought was interesting that I honestly did not know anything about was that savings account interest was nerfed from 0.5% to 0.05%.
Which that is significant.
Yes, and I guess people were exploiting that. I personally wasn't online and experiencing the game online until around this time, so I didn't know what people were doing and what people were up to. I was trying my best to experience the game all by myself before I like hopped online and saw the Animal Crossing community. So I had no idea that this was an exploit that people were going crazy on, you know?
Same. Yeah, I think this was actually the first update that I experienced with Animal Crossing in my hands, because I didn't even have my Switch in my hands until after the game itself released. So this first update was pretty huge and significant. I mean, we got introduced to several NPCs, significantly better than the ones in the previous update, I have to say. But I don't remember this either. And maybe it was because I hadn't really done any diving into the specifics of the Animal Crossing online community, what people were happy about or upset about. At this point, I think I was still trading fruits with friends locally, and that was it.
I love that you said it was significantly better than the characters we got before, as in the Bunny Day.
As in Zipper, yep. Little shade to Zipper.
So from now on, we're not going to go into the specifics, but there are these Nook Shopping seasonal event items. It's basically just all of these items that kind of get added into the Nook's shopping thing, and they're fun and cute, and we're not going to talk about every single one of them. Like, thank you, Mom Mug. Okay, you know, cool.
Not groundbreaking gameplay there.
Yeah. After that, we get the 2 summer updates. So Wave 1 included sea creatures and swimming, which was in Animal Crossing New Leaf. So a lot of people were really excited to have this back, as well as 2 characters, Pascal and Gullivar, 2 furniture sets, the Mermaid series and the Pirate series. And then the second wave of the summer update, we get fireworks and all of the fun little fireworks items. And then we also get Luna and Dream Islands, so we could go and visit islands and dreams. The most significant part of this update for me was being able to back up our saves to Nintendo servers. I always feel like technologically, sometimes Nintendo is a little bit behind on things, and I was really happy to see this be released, but kind of like, oh, they don't have this already. I would expect that my Animal Crossing island that I get tons and tons of hours on to just be backed up, because like if I lost my Switch at that point, I would have sobbed on the floor and been crying my eyes out. I would have been so upset. So I thought that was probably the most significant part of the update for me. Fireworks cool, Dream Island's cool.
Yeah, I actually loved both of these summer updates. And besides the obvious one, which we're getting to in several months from now, I think this what might be one of my favorites. And a lot of it is just the significance of having Luna, being able to access dream addresses. That's a huge part of my content, obviously. But beyond that, I just think it opened the doors to so much more exploration and creativity, from, you know, interacting with Red on a very different basis with the fireworks show and being able to swim and collect new items for the museum. I loved these summer updates so much, and they're very much parts of the game that I use today and enjoy today. I always time travel to July and August for these elements, like for the fireworks show. And obviously, of course, like I said, I use Luna significantly more than other NPCs in the game.
Yeah.
But this one was one of my favorites. I thought it was so much fun, and it set the bar high for me for future updates too, because there was just so much added that I used on a regular basis, which some updates I skip, honestly, as far as events go. But yeah, I loved this one.
Absolutely. I loved the diving. I feel like just in general, this trailer coming out, it felt like to me, the summer update was late. And that's just my own personal feelings, because I feel like between April 23rd to when we got news of the first summer update, Wave 1, on July 3rd, 2020, was like the longest span of time ever. It felt like we were waiting and waiting and waiting. And I was like, summer's here. Like, what the heck? Like, we should have a summer update or something. But that was honestly just me and my weird opinions about weather, because to me, summer was there because I'm from Arizona. And so it gets hot in March and it is
Right.
summer in April. And so I was like really anticipating this, and it felt like we were waiting forever. But obviously, the rest of the world does not operate on that same weird time scale. So this was really exciting for me. I'm glad that it came in 2 waves. They could have easily just bunched this all up into one
Totally.
and, told us to F off until September, which was the next update. But I like that they spread it out. Thought that was cool.
You do have a good point about it releasing later than anticipated. I never really put 2 and 2 together, but you're right. I think the official first day of summer it's late June. And a lot of people, at least in the United States, we would consider summer really beginning like right after Memorial Day. But yeah, I guess I never realized until looking at these 2 updates that, yeah, one starts middle of July, early July, and then one's at the end of July. That's significantly later into summer than you would expect a summer update to be.
On September 30th, we got the Halloween trailer, and that is with Jack, the whole spooky series of furniture. We've got some new reactions, the new eye colors, and the skin tones. This is our first experience with farming, whatever, the Animal Crossing considers to be like the farming. We've got
True.
pumpkins. And this opened up so many predictions for people, because getting a plantable crop that you could harvest that wasn't flowers was like, oh my gosh, what else could possibly be coming? Is cooking coming? It didn't come for a very long time, but it was very exciting to be a part of that speculation and think about like, oh, what could potentially be on its way that we've never seen in the Animal Crossing series before.
I do wonder if they were originally planning to release all of the crops with this update, or even in the next one prior to Turkey Day, because obviously that whole gameplay and storyline is about cooking, right? So I wonder if that was originally a part of the plan and for whatever reason it didn't happen.
Yeah, it is very interesting to think about, because I do wonder, I understand and I vie for the updates, including all of the holidays, and then the additional content that's unexpected. I wonder what the timeline truly was for that, and if the pandemic had disrupted that timeline at all. And so they were just like, okay, well, let's give them pumpkins for now, because it's kind of Halloween-y, and then we'll keep working on everything else and wait until that's completely ready.
Yep, I think that's definitely true. Just the halt in development makes sense with the timeline of the pandemic and when everything was released. So I totally buy into that theory.
After Halloween, we've got Turkey Day. Turkey Day and Toy Day shipped together. So obviously we've got Franklin, the whole Turkey Day event, and then all of the furniture and DIYs that come with that, as well as Toy Day with Jingle. We also got something that was like a little bit more quality of life-y, was increased storage. I was begging and dying for more storage space at this point. I'm not sure if they just like didn't anticipate so many people to be as decorating pilled as they were, but it feels like it was like a hallelujah moment to finally get at least some progress on the increased storage capacity. And then we've got 9 new reactions. Sit down was major. I remember that blowing up on Twitter, like, finally we get to sit down next to our villagers. And then they would get back up again and walk away from you because they didn't actually want to sit next to you. And then 6 new hairstyles, and surprise me on the Dream Island feature. So you could go to random Dream Islands. So fun. And then, of course, like all of, the Nintendo shopping things. But I thought that it was interesting that they put Turkey Day and Toy Day together when they very well could have split it if they wanted to, just to say, like, we've got more updates planned, right?
Right. I was wondering the same thing. It almost really doesn't make sense to me why they did release them together, unless they just knew or had expectations that Festival, the next update, they just needed more hands on deck for releasing it. That's the only theory I have as to why they didn't separate it, but who knows?
We did get the Festival update at the end of January. So January 28th, 2 months in between updates there. For me, this is kind of when I started to really notice that a lot of people were tuned out and they weren't really paying that much attention, because it seemed like we had gotten most, if not all, of the holidays after we got Festival. There's some other things included, but having Festival was kind of like the last thing that everybody was expecting to get. So it was kind of like, oh, is this game complete now? I fully was only expecting like 1 year of updates just to add in all of the holiday events, but I have a feeling that they kind of ramped it up after this point. And of course, they knew the DLC was going to be coming out and
True.
everything, so they were going to do a huge update for that. But a lot of this going into 2021 of Animal Crossing, I feel like we've just got a little bit of a lull while they're kind of waiting for that. So once we got the festival and some of the like Valentine's Day items and all of that, we've got another kind of like update. And that was on February 25th, 2021 with the Super Mario collab. So we got Super Mario items. I wasn't really checking for this. I wasn't really super stoked on it. The one thing that I will give them flowers on is the warp pipes. Those are awesome.
Us decorators loved those warp pipes because at this point didn't have a storage shed that we could utilize. We had to run back home all the time. And it also made for a lot of really fun creative builds, getting to different access points of the island that you couldn't reach through a ladder or through an incline. So yeah, warp pipes were and still are so much fun. Other than that, the update just felt like a promotional tie-in to me. I get why they did it, but they did give us some heavy quality of life with that warp pipe.
I did love the warp pipe. My favorite kind of builds were the ones that were subway stations. So you could like go down the ladder, hop into the warp pipe, and then it would take you to a warp pipe inside somebody's home or something. And it was built to look like a subway station. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh. People were doing such creative things with that warp pipe. And then we also got another promotional update, the Sanrio update. A lot of people were expecting this to come because the Sanrio amiibo cards had already been out with the previous game, and for those to go to waste would have really sucked, you know? So the Sanrio themed villagers and then all of their furniture and all of their fun things. We've also got the Custom Design Pro editor, and that added more custom design slots, I believe, and then different things that you could do with them, like standees and flags, umbrellas, all of that. Custom Design Portal app. What is that?
That is where you could access the Custom Design Portal without going into Able Sisters. So it wasn't accessible on our Nook phone for forever.
I don't remember that. I do not
I do.
That.
I remember the pain of going to Able Sisters every freaking day just to get to the Custom Design Portal. So when they added that application on the phone, which why didn't they do that to begin with? I don't know. But that was what was so refreshing, and you could just continue on decorating even if you're as far away as possible from the actual Able Sisters amenity.
I do not remember that. Wow. Quality of life there. Thank you. Thank you, Animal Crossing developers, because that 100%. Is important. I can't imagine an Animal Crossing without it.
You're right, too. This was like the era of the standees for all of the decorators in Animal Crossing. This is where tons of people got creative with like fencing, with the umbrellas. People were getting really creative with like fruits and farming that we didn't have at the time. So yeah, I didn't realize how much quality of life was in this specific update because I always equate it just to Sanrio stuff. But there's actually some pretty good stuff in here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I liked the Sanrio update. I remember going to pick up the Sanrio amiibo cards, and oh my god, at my Target, they were Target exclusive in the United States. At my Target, I pulled up and I had ordered it through the phone. So I was expecting to just like go pick up, and I didn't know where to go. So I like walked to the back of the store where all of the Nintendo stuff is, and I see employees just like giving them out. And I was like, oh no, they're only supposed to sell them through the app. Like, and I didn't say anything, but I watched this one lady buy like an ass load of them, obviously to resell. And I did end up getting my amiibo card. So it wasn't like, 911, the worst thing is happening right now, please come and save me at the Target. But it was alarming because I was like, oh my God, what if they run out of cards because they're just giving 10 to this lady? So I know that happened to a lot of people throughout the country. But going to get the cards was like a whole event in itself. That was a lot.
Oh, totally. I didn't realize that you had to order them through the app. I knew they were a Target exclusive, and they were supposed to limit them, I think, per customer. But I didn't realize that you had to order them through the Target app in order to be eligible to actually take them home.
I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, but I'm fairly confident that it was supposed to be you order them online exclusive and then you go and pick them up.
Interesting.
And I could be wrong. People will correct us, but I am fairly certain. Now, we've got 2 more updates that are kind of just random after this. So in between March 18th and November 5th, we really didn't have a lot going on. And this, I think, would be the second big Animal Crossing dip.
Yep.
This is honestly both of these updates, 1.10 and 1.11. It's kind of just the Nook Shopping exclusive event items. Cheese rolling. We got a cheese, you know.
I forgot about the cheese rolling.
Mother's Father's Day, Children's Day, which I don't know what that is. We love the children. Shout out to the children. There was an update on July 29th with Red's raffle. So I think that went along with the fireworks update. There was like more Red's things. They were just kind of adding stuff randomly here and there. But then we really didn't get anything until the last major update, 2.0. The 2.0 update. We have a lot to cover on the 2.0 update. That came with a Nintendo Direct specifically for Animal Crossing. It was 20 minutes long, and it was about everything that came in the 2.0 update and then everything that came with the Happy Home Paradise DLC. The biggest things from the 2.0 update was the Roost and Brewster. And then we've got Cap'n, so a return of so many characters and things that we loved about previous games. Cap'n will sing to you, serenade you, whatever, and then take you to Mystery Islands with brand new island types. And then there's new things like vines and all of that, moss, glowing moss, like what the hell. And then Harv's Island Plaza. We have some returning characters coming there as well. And then some of the characters that we already had in the game. So like Sahara will go and sell rugs there every day. And then, right? Is it every day?
Yeah, as long as they're unlocked. Yeah, you can pretty much go and access it every day.
Yeah, once you unlock them, you have to pay money. And then you go and you can go use Sahara. You can go use Leaf. You can go use Red. And then Reese and Cyrus will go and do their actual task that they were given on God's green earth, which was to do like furniture changing and all of that, furniture recoloring.
Not just like habitually renew their vows.
Yeah, just like every year they're just getting married again and again and again. Reese and Cyrus recoloring the items is so crucial, I feel like, to an Animal Crossing game because it can be really hard to get all of those colorways. But the Happy Home Paradise DLC did help a lot with that, but having this feature was very, very helpful. And
Agreed.
then we've got Katrina returning, fortune telling, and then Tortimer. He accesses your storage for you, like what a king. And Harriet will cut your hair with all new haircuts. This was also the inclusion of cooking and all of the new crops. And that was really exciting. A lot of people were predicting that that was going to come. And that finally arriving was like a huge deal. And then we've got gyroids back and all of these new villagers and all this new dialogue. We got several new villagers with the update and then some returning villagers from previous games that were not included initially in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, another thing that came with the 2.0 update was the lighting and ceiling decor and accent walls. So a lot of people mistake this as a Happy Home Paradise exclusive thing. Everybody was able to do this. You didn't need to buy the DLC to get access to those features. However, you know, it goes hand in hand with a lot of the DLC stuff that's going on.
Oh, definitely. I think they were baiting people with that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Miscellaneous stuff, we've got new hairstyles, reactions, Nook Mile furniture. In general, just so much new furniture, so many new recipes, hundreds, new KK songs. We've got the storage cabinets, those were awesome. We love the storage cabinets here. And then, you know, random things. Okay, I'm just gonna list off some of the more randomness. Group stretching in the plaza.
So weird. Why?
We love it. We love to get a good stretch in, but you know, okay.
Sure. Yeah, just throw it in there.
It's a cute addition, right?
It was cute.
Island ordinances, I would say, were a little bit more of like a impacts your daily gameplay type of thing. I love the inclusion of island ordinances. We've got more home exterior options to customize your island even more. And then our increased storage capacity went all the way up to 5,000 in this
Wild.
update. You can go up to 5,000 storage slots. That's amazing. More bridges. You could have 10 bridges on your island. New fences, fence customization. I was begging for that forever. Oh my God. New camera modes. Now you can do like the POV camera. Island Life 101, the Nook phone app, which was more so for new players, just kind of gave you tips on what the hell you're supposed to be doing in Animal Crossing if you're not familiar with the game. And then shimmying through tight spaces. Isn't that cool? Like,
it was a fun furniture one.
The furniture being like kind of close together, sometimes you wouldn't be able to walk, so now you can shimmy, and it just opened up a lot more in the decorating department.
Totally.
There's just way too much to go over. There's so much randomness in the 2.0 update. This portion of the direct was about 12 minutes long, and at the very end of that portion, they were like, hey, this is the final update. Do not go on Twitter and beg us. They didn't say this part, but do not go on Twitter and beg us for more updates. They wanted to shut down that speculation. This is it. After the 2.0 update, you get nothing new free content wise, right? Of course, they're patching the game and doing all of that. But with the inclusion of 2.0, Happy Home Paradise, we're done.
They did set the expectations. They were very, very, very clear with it, but it was, after seeing all those wonderful things being shown to us, that did sting a little bit, knowing that they were meant to be taken seriously at that point.
Yeah, at the time I was really butthurt. I was like, no, you guys could probably update this game forever if you wanted to, but I digress. At the end of this direct, the last 8 minutes of it, we're talking about Happy Home Paradise, the DLC. So previously, Happy Home Designer, that was in the 3DS era, it was its own game. So having Happy Home Paradise be DLC that's like really attached and goes hand in hand with your Animal Crossing New Horizons game was really cool. And then Happy Home Paradise DLC, I feel like it's really, really solid. You get to go and design vacation homes and go to this brand new island and do vacation homes for villagers, and then facilities. So like you can make a school, a functional cafe, a restaurant, hospital. There's the clothing store that you can make. Super awesome. And it has some new NPCs like Nico and Wardell, and then Lottie is returning, a fan favorite of me personally. I think she's a baddie. And then a ton of new items, DIY recipes, and all the new clothing and everything, DLC related, super awesome. Another thing too that was DLC exclusive, okay, partition walls, pillars, polishing, and soundscapes. So they kind of got you there. They teased you with the lighting implements and the accent wall, but they were like, honey, if you want all the rest, you have got to buy the DLC.
Which I gotta say, those partition walls are really great to use.
And I feel like my most used feature of the DLC was decorating my villagers' homes on my own island. That is crucial. I feel like they didn't need to include that being a DLC exclusive. It would have been nice for everybody to have that. But it's kind of a slay feature. It kills it every time. I love being able to redo my villagers' homes. Some of them have butt ugly homes. So
totally, especially the exterior too. I mean, that they only could have included being able to do that to the other island amenities like the museum and Able Sisters, then I'd be complaining a little bit less. But having that ability on our villager homes is great.
Oh, it's so amazing. It opens up so many possibilities for us decorators. Like there's a lot of people that want a very monotone look to their island, but they might want to have a crazy looking villager that has a piss yellow house and a pink roof. And it's like, right. Girl, I'm beige. Like, I don't know. I don't want this eyesore on my island, but I like this villager. Boom. Problem solved, you know? And you know what? It helped so that people didn't discriminate against the villagers as much. Because I feel like a lot of people did not want certain villagers because they wanted a certain aesthetic. So now you have no excuse.
I 1000% agree. Yep.
So basically, that was all of the Animal Crossing updates that came to the game. After that, they were done. We've obviously got some patches, but nothing else new and free. And that ended on November 5th. 2021. I was going through that direct comments on YouTube. There were so many people that were saying, oh, they finally added all of the things that we were asking for and all the things that should have been there on release. And there's certain things that I definitely agree on. I feel like they didn't need to wait so long to add Brewster. I don't really know why it took so long, especially since he didn't come with a mini game. There used to be a Brewster mini game in New Leaf where you could make coffee for people. You just go and you sit at the cafe. Why did it take so damn long? Like, you know what I mean? Didn't really make a ton of sense to me.
That I don't know. The only thing I can think of that may have required additional Roost development work is being able to bring in all of the missing NPCs and characters through amiibos, because that's the only way you can interact with all of the missing characters. It's through the Roost and Happy Home Paradise, but let's just set that aside. So unless just pulling those characters in and redesigning them and reskinning them for New Horizons just took an exorbitant amount of time, I don't know either, because the Roost is pretty plain.
Exactly, yeah. I feel like you have a point there, though, because there are a ton of missing characters. Like, we are missing Dr. Shrunk. We are missing Blanca. We're missing Digby, Gracie. We're missing so many people. There's like a whole big list here. And we're just going to do a rolling credits of all the NPCs that are missing, because I think a lot of people are complaining about that too, as well as some of the missing features. Like, we don't have a city. We don't have certain buildings. Like, we don't have like Gracie Grace. We don't have Club LOL. We don't have Tortimer's Island that had mini games that you could play with your friends. That, I feel like, is something Animal Crossing is really, really missing. Not necessarily having an island destination to go to play mini games, but just more mini games in general, more online activity that you can do with people, with your friends. Like, I feel like that would have really helped with how shitty Nintendo Online is, and especially like the online features in Animal Crossing, I feel like are an area that the game is extremely lacking on. But that's like most Nintendo games. So where are my expectations? I don't know, but it shouldn't have been so poor quality, the online play.
Yeah, the quality was pretty bare bones. I feel like besides dream addresses, I don't even know how often I use the online feature. Maybe going to Treasure Islands, sure. But as far as interacting with other players, which is at the core what it's meant to do, and having mini games or having just things to explore and do with your friends beyond swimming and diving and running around, there's not that much. There's
a timer.
Yeah, you got a timer, you got some shovels. But yeah, no, it was pretty disappointing, pretty lackluster. There's just so much room for improvement. But like you said, where do we even go from here with the expectations, knowing that this is always kind of their Achilles heel?
A lot of people were complaining about missing furniture series, missing fruits, all of that stuff. But would I go as far as to say it's an incomplete game? After the 2.0 update, I would not say that at all. I feel like playing the game now compared to playing it at launch, yes, they're very different games. But in my personal opinion, a game doesn't have to have every single feature from the previous titles in order for it to be complete. Yeah. It can have its own identity. It can have its own things. There are certain things from the previous series that I think it wouldn't have done anything but add to New Horizons and the New Horizons experience if they did decide to include those. But obviously, I can't sit here and bitch about there being no mini games like all day. Like, there's so many new and inventive things that Animal Crossing New Horizons did, like decorating. It was not easy in the other games. And it's very much like a more decorating based game to me. It's very much more sandboxy than Animal Crossing has ever been before. So it's kind of a give and a take, it feels like.
Yeah, I agree. I think the word abandoned or unfinished, I think that's pretty strong to say. I mean, personally, I don't think Animal Crossing New Horizons was outright abandoned, but, it's crystal clear that Nintendo shifted their priorities, right? They shifted it really, really quickly after that final 2.0 update. There was an obvious decline in any new content, even just patch fixes and anything along those lines. But they said, clear out, like we were discussing, like This is the last free major update for Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is it. This is done. And I think they were hoping to set the appropriate expectation of like, this game's development is finalized. Period. Point blank. So yeah, that was disappointing. I think fans for a long time were expecting tons and tons of quality ongoing updates and new content, but realistically, that's not sustainable, especially as we did know there was a successor to the Switch coming at some point. There was eventually going to be an announcement of a new Animal Crossing title. So while abandoned, unfinished, I do think are strong accusations. I do think it's pretty fair to say that a lot of us expected after this huge successful launch that the momentum would continue beyond a year and a half or a year and however long it was. So it just seemed truncated for me with that update, but I don't necessarily think it would be abandoned. I still feel like it was a complete game after the 2.0 update.
And we're both in agreement on the way that they rolled out the updates is so cool. I think it was really cool to make everybody play all the holidays all together at once and keep that hype going through these trailers and these Nintendo Direct announcements. It reminds me of how they like roll out new characters in Smash. Like it's always like, it always was like a huge event and like everybody was anticipating it, and they were trying to replicate that feeling for Animal Crossing, which is not typically a game that like gets updated really that much. Like they get a couple updates here and there for the new Leaf and then like one big one, then it's like see you later, goodbye. That's how it was with Animal Crossing New Horizons. So I don't really know what people were expecting, I suppose. I wasn't wanting it to be like a live service game with microtransactions similar to maybe like, I mean, a poor comparison would be like Pocket Camp, but not really, because a lot of people always say like, oh, look at what Pocket Camp gets. They get all this furniture, they get all these updates, and we get the scraps. We don't get shit in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm not expecting a Fortnite here. You know, Nintendo really just doesn't do stuff like that all too often, besides like with, you know, Super Smash, and then like Splatoon gets, you know, regular events and updates and things like that. With Animal Crossing, I'm not sure why people put that hardcore expectation on it, except I can kind of understand if they're watching all of these updates, you know, and they're seeing like how successful the game is and how much it sold a crazy amount, crazy popular game. Why not just continually be updating it and just add more furniture and things like that? But I personally just don't know if I think it's necessary. Like with the 2.0 update, I strongly encourage anybody that's listening to this right now, if you have not played the 2.0 update and you're like, why was Animal Crossing abandoned? They added in so much stuff. It feels so like it was the closing of the book.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think by announcing that the 2.0 update was the final major update, again, they set the clear expectations, but potentially they did that just to like manage the community's expectations too, of like, hey, if we had smaller incremental updates, you're going to be disappointed. And we saw how successful this franchise is. We need to pivot to the development of a new one, of a new title within this franchise. But I don't know. That's also my conspiracy theory brain working a little bit.
I don't know anything about game development. This is just, I think, common sense. But if they had to put all of their eggs in working on Animal Crossing New Horizons for years and years and years and years, would we have to wait so much longer for the next title? I don't want to do that. I want them to keep it pushing. I don't want to be in this position that I'm in with, say, The Sims 4. The Sims 4 is a god-awful mess. And I would hate to have Animal Crossing New Horizons be continually updated for years and years and years and just continue to just go down this downward slope of quality and all this. Like, I would much prefer them to just do what they did, keep it pushing, give us another title. I'm really excited, you know, for the next thing, whether that be a spin-off game or a full Animal Crossing game. My personal prediction is that with the Switch successor, Switch 2, coming sometime next year, that within a year of that launching, there's going to be like an Animal Crossing spin-off or something.
Totally.
Because it seems like it's a little too close for there to be another full Animal Crossing game, but a little spin-off would be very cute, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there will be something. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a full new Animal Crossing title, honestly, because once they decided, hey, for whatever reason, it's going to be more feasible to launch this giant 2.0 update alongside with the DLC. Boom, we're done. No more updates except for maintenance and stuff. Once they made that decision and taking into consideration how freaking successful Animal Crossing New Horizons was, maybe their strategies just pivoted and they changed whatever internal schedule they had. We said, hey, with the successor, maybe with the launch, but like you said, let's say within the first year of the launch of the successor of the Switch, we're going to have a new game released because we saw how popular it was. There is a huge new audience of Animal Crossing lovers because of the pandemic and how many people just got introduced to it with this specific title. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's why their shift focused somewhere other than having smaller, manageable updates from time to time. And instead, they just lumped it all in at once. That's my conspiracy theory. I hope I'm right, but time will only tell.
It would be so cool to get something else Animal Crossing related in the next couple years, but we've always had to kind of like wait for Animal Crossing games. I think it was like 8 years in between New Leaf and New Horizons. Now we're at 4.
Right.
So I think everybody needs to manage their expectations a little bit. And I'm glad that the game's not continually updated for me personally. Don't drag things on and make them have a long and painful death. Like just kind of like, stop things when it's ready to be stopped. It would be super cool to have more furniture and all of that, but it's not that type of game. And I would be very upset if that took microtransactions. If we had to pay for new things, which isn't like a real thing in the Nintendo worlds, in a lot of things, like no. If we had to do microtransactions like that on an actual console game, I would cry and be so upset. I would hate that. And I think everybody would hate that. And so if that's what it takes to get continual updates, I don't want any part of it,
I agree. And in some games, it makes sense. But again, this isn't your Fortnite, right? It's a completely different style of gameplay. It would be really frustrating if we did have to pay for furniture or even the ability to customize furniture or whatever. So it has been interesting, too, just seeing how creative players have been with the lack of any future updates. People are finding new and inventive ways to use items that have existed since day one that we've never seen before. So that's also fun, and I think people are doing their best to keep the game alive just because of their sheer love of it. But I would be heartbroken if they took Animal Crossing and turned it into a microtransaction-fueled style of gameplay. It makes no sense, and yeah, that would be brutal if they turned it into Pocket Camp just on the console.
Oh, yeah. No, that would be horrible. And everybody would hate that. So I really don't know what people are expecting. However Nintendo does their stuff right now, I'm perfectly happy with it. I'm not like looking for them to reinvent the wheel here or even join the microtransaction bandwagon with a console game. I'm good, personally. I'll buy the amiibo cards because it's a physical item I get to hold and I get to use it in all of my Animal Crossing games, but that's about as much shilling as I can take.
Agreed. And that's different. Like you said, it's a physical item, it's a collectible. So it's definitely different than, fake money buying fake things on a game, Real money buying fake things, I should clarify and say
exactly.
that.
Do you play Pocket Camp at all?
I have it and I have played it and I have spent real money on it, but it's not a regular thing that I do. No.
Yeah. I'm not above spending money on a little phone game. Okay. But
not at all.
It wasn't really my thing. Like even though I have strong opinions about microtransactions, it's a huge turnoff to me. I just tend to like completely disregard games that have them, to be quite honest. Except for I guess The Sims 4. God, they always get me. Even though I hate
same.
them.
I just spent a little too much money on the good EA store recently.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem sometimes. But that can be its own thing. I'm happy that Animal Crossing gets the treatment that it does. I feel like the way that they did all these updates, in my opinion, the game isn't necessarily like abandoned. They were just trying to do something cool and like keep their game relevant for longer than a couple months, which is unfortunately, I think, what would have happened if everything came at one time.
Agreed.
Minus like the 2.0 update. Like there's no way that would have been, on launch, and like certain things like the promotional, like Sanrio kind of collab, stuff like that. I just don't see that having happened at launch, but like all of the events in the holidays being, continually updated with all of us and how real life goes and real life timing and everything, the coolest ever. I thought it was great, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree.
opinion.
I think it's a catch-22 for me because they did such a great job of creating this dynamic, ever-evolving world that very much mirrors real life and our seasons. And we can't time travel to Christmas right now, so why should we in the game? Like, it was so smart. And yet, I think where they kicked themselves is just setting the expectation that this would happen year after year after year after year. And that is just not realistic. Video games evolve, consoles evolve and change. And yeah, no, I think the final update was the right move, as disappointing as it was, knowing that that was the end all be all. But in hindsight, for sure, if they had to reallocate their resources to creating a spinoff, a new Animal Crossing game, I would much rather have that scenario and have them do it right from the get-go than half-ass release a title that we don't enjoy or that's, broken in many different areas while they're still rolling out New Horizons updates. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I feel like, of course, the game came out with a little bit of like a lackluster start in a lot of people's opinions. Like, it obviously was missing a lot of things that came in the updates that followed. So a lot of people were kind of like, after that initial big boom, this game isn't holding my attention. It's not my thing. I don't think it's very good. In New Leaf, we had this and da 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 da. All of that. I think that it turned a lot of people away, but there was this really big blossoming community of decorators and people that were obsessed with that portion of the game. And they hung on until the very end. And so if you want to make those people happy, if that's a huge portion of your player base, maybe rethink it in the next title. Do we want to roll out continual furniture updates for years and years and years? Should we plan ahead for that? I don't know. It's a possibility.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if they ever expected the decorating and design portion of Animal Crossing New Horizons to be as grand as it ended up being, especially for a lot of like long-term players that essentially that's all they do now is get on their Switch, restart, and then create something brand new. So maybe they will pivot to something like that in the future. I don't know if they had those expectations for New Horizons, but I'm obviously thankful for it.
I know, me too. I loved it. I feel like Animal Crossing was just like the coolest time. I got to meet you through it. It was just the coolest ever. Like, it was such an amazing era. And obviously we're very much like, we love Nintendo and New Horizons because like we have Animal Crossing YouTube channels and things. And so, obviously we have our own biases, but I feel like we both have like a really hardcore love and appreciation for the game that a lot of people didn't quite get there, but so many people agree with us. And, like we just want to see it live on and continue to be excellent, and all of the next titles to just be freaking awesome moving on, right?
And I think they will be. I think Nintendo knows the pressure is there after New Horizons being just one of the biggest launches really of their entire business model over the last several years. So I believe that they know exactly what they're doing, and I'm trusting them with the lack of updates moving forward. I'm trusting them of truncating all of the major stuff into that 1.2.0 update. So yeah, time will tell. I think that both of us have the right hunch as to what's happening behind the scenes if we just put on our business and marketing and PR hats for a second. And I hope we're right. I hope that's exactly what's going on here, and that in the next, let's say 4 years, hopefully sooner, but if we take the previous timeline, 8 years total from the release of New Horizons, hopefully in the next 4 years from now, 8 years total, we're going to have something that we really, really love in our hands that's new.
Yes, totally agree. Oh my gosh, this was so great. Thank you so much for talking to me I feel like we covered a lot of ground, and I feel
This
like
was
we
so
got to
much fun,
say our
yeah.
piece a little bit, because there are some haters online.
I think a lot of people feel like the game was abandoned just from what I've heard. But again, I think if it takes quote unquote abandoning New Horizons in order for us to have development for a new game that's going to be just as, if not more successful, then we need to be patient, trust Nintendo, and understand that they have limited resources. Like they can't dedicate every single developer to an Animal Crossing title as much as we would like them to. But yeah, this was so much fun to talk about everything. I really enjoyed it. And it was also like going down memory lane with all of those updates. I really forgot how each of those updates really built up to now be this holistic and, in our opinion, complete game.
Totally. Oh my gosh, watching all of those trailers was really so nostalgic for me. I loved it so much. It was a good time. But thank you for talking to me
Of course.
on my second channel here, Liss Pilled. Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on youtube.com, Katie Cozyway, or if you look up just Katie and Island Tour, I'm sure you'll end up finding my channel. You can also check me out on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, all with the exact same handle. Yeah, or in the comments of this video. I'll say hi to you guys.